to all chatter and chat with each other. It's a beautiful thing. I didn't want to interrupt. Oops, let's go on megaphone. I didn't want to interrupt. I love it that, Educators in VR has been going for, we're in our third year. And I absolutely love that you all have known each other and been together, even if it's just for a few weeks. I just absolutely love this. And that's what we're going to be here to talk about, is the social metaverse here with the beautiful Andy Fidel. So before we get to introducing our amazing, amazing speaker here, I'm going to mute y'all just to make sure that we don't have any interruptions through all of this. And welcome. My name is Laurel, and I am the co-founder, along with Daniel Dabosky Bryant, who's filming today, so this is being recorded, of Educators in VR. And we are so thrilled that you are here. I normally ask some questions, but Andy's going to be asking some questions in a moment of you all to get kind of a feel for where you all are coming from and what you're doing here. But what I want to tell you is that if you're new to Educators in VR, it is a organization that is dedicated to the integration of XR immersive technologies into education, business, training. Hey, we want to go for life. We want it into our lives. And we host over 600 mostly free events every year. We've developed the Educators in VR Institute that is soft launching right now, that where we're going to be having all kinds of classes that are available in VR, proving that we can teach in VR. Some of them will be a mix of online conferencing and VR, but we're going to cover the whole gamut in there. And we also have a new membership program. So in order to support all the free work that we do, like I said, over 600 events a year that we offer, most of them are for free and open to the public. We have a membership program that has some great benefits. There's 2 tiers. So go check out the information at educatorsinvr.com. Also check out our Discord, our Facebook, and all of the other social stuff that we have going on. We also are getting ready. How many of you were at the Educators in VR International Summit last year? Last year's International Summit. Give me some hearts. Yeah. Was that amazing? Yeah. Well, we're not doing it again this year. We've decided that 6 24-hour days are not good for the body and the health. So we're doing it for 30 days. Yes, and not 24 hours. Donna McTee, our amazing event production mistress of the world, she is lining up a special calendar. So it is going to be May 1st through the 30th. We are going to be having amazing events that are just going to blow your mind, free and open to the public in multiple metaverses. So it'll be on Engage and Altspace, and it'll be on, you name it. Well, it'll be everywhere. On hubs, so and so and so and so. And so we're looking for partners, we're looking for sponsors, but most of all, we're looking for volunteers. And we have a volunteer meetup, 2 of them tomorrow, right here in Altspace. So do check the events calendar for a volunteer meetup. And if you'd like to become involved, we need moderators and event hosts and all kinds of fun things going on with this. So please come join us for that, because it takes an army to make these events happen. We had over 6,000 event attendees last year. Who knows how many bazillions we're going to have this year. So we're really excited about that. Please remember that we also have what are called team projects. There are special interest groups that get together under common interest, like our cultural heritage preservation group, with Lita is here with that. Our virtual schooling group, which is doing with Keeley, is doing an amazing program called Bring It Home, looking at remote learning using VR and AR and online technology and stuff. We have the new medical and healthcare group. Love them. They are rocking, looking at how medicine and healthcare and medical sciences are using immersive technologies in their industry. Really exciting. We've got the virtual language arts that is with Gingery and Michael McDonald, that is exploring how VR and AR and XR are used for learning languages and developing language skills. We have so many. I know I've forgot. We have like 18 different groups that are getting together and new ones coming on board. So please check out our Discord, check out our website, check out our Facebook and everything else, and see where you might want to get involved to find out what's going on with the latest cutting edge of technology in the metaverse and immersive technology. All right, now I want to introduce you to one of my besties. I love this person. Andy Fidel has been rocking it for years in VR. And I know that whatever I say, she's going to be embarrassed. But absolutely, yes, 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 yes. Very few people have been so innovative when it comes to event production, when it comes to the concept of the social metaverse than Andy Fidel. And you're about to have a treat. The Winter Festival was here in Altspace, and I think on other platforms too. I can't remember. Through December and January is one of the longest running persistent social and event worlds, spaces, whatever. She'll give you the language in VR and broke all kinds of rules and grounds and everything. So please welcome from Get Social and so many other awesome groups, Andy Fidel. It's all yours, my friend. Make sure you're on megaphone.
Turn that on. 1 2 1 2. Can everyone hear me all right? Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm really happy to be back here. And this is a brand new space. I have not seen this. I love it. No roof, open sky. This is beautiful.
Which I apologize. I did not thank the amazing builder here. So excuse me, Andy, you're muted. Please give some credit to the floating dude up here in the vest, Mark from News and Updates, who built this incredible new event space for us. And it is just absolutely amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Mark, and welcome everyone to our new event space. Yay!
Beautiful. Thank you. And so welcome everyone. It looks like everyone is muted, but since we're doing things that I Get Social, I'm gonna be playing with this button, turning things on and off depending on where we're at in the presentation. But there'll definitely be moments where I'd love your feedback. The majority of the experience was here in Altspace, and so I look forward to showing you what we did and sharing the stories, and also hearing your stories. Like I want to learn. This was fun. This was heartwarming. This was totally experimental. Yeah, so eager to kick things off. Just the first question, and I want to make sure everyone knows how to emoji and how to engage in Altspace, how to raise your hand and how to show some emotion so that like I can also get some feedback and know how things are going. Because as you know, when you're talking alone on stage, especially in VR, it sounds like a silent bubble. So let's see the first question. How long have you been in social VR? Let's see some hearts if it's been over 3 years, 1 year, claps, less than a month, smiley faces, wonderful. And then the sad face, I hope I see no sad faces, is where am I? Beautiful, beautiful. Well, welcome. No, sad face, where are you? You're here, welcome. So second question, I just wanted to know today, what device are you on? Show me some hearts if you're on mobile VR. That's like Oculus Quest 1 and 2. Used to be Gear and Daydream and all that. VR for Windows Mixed Reality, Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, wonderful. 2D mode, 2D mode. I will be as well in 2D mode just for this part. Hopefully my headset is still charging for the mingle part. And then guess someone's borrowing. Do we have anyone completely new and coming in here and dropping in for the first time? Okay. And then last question, overall, how would you summarize the way you use social VR? So hearts, you majority attend events, public events here in Altspace and in social VR. Meet up with friends, so specifically you call up a friend, you start a group chat, okay? You host events in VR. Oh my gosh, wonderful! That's amazing. So many hosts here. No one is still confused at this point. Wonderful. Love it. And so today, I'd like to share one of the experiences that we did here at the Get Social Network, and that's Winter Wonderland. But before I do, I just want to introduce myself very briefly and also introduce Get Social for those who don't know about Get Social. So my name is Andy Fidel. I'm a social experience strategist. Been dabbling and playing with digital experiences since 2010. I sound garbled. Oh no, can I get a wave of emojis if I should re-enter? Sad faces if I'm
Yes,
garbled
you
for you as well?
should. Please.
All right, all right.
Yep. All right. She will be right back. Oh, sorry. I'm taking pictures, so I'm flying here. She'll be right back. And again, I want to thank you all those that came in a little late. This is Andy Fidel. She is speaking at the Educators in VR event here. This is our weekly workshop. We meet here in Altspace every Tuesday with great speakers and conversations. Really, really good stuff. You can learn more about it at educatorsinvr.com, as well as all of our other social media. And what a great start.
How's
all right,
that?
Andy, you're back. Zayafe, beautiful.
I'm back. Is that better? I should go megaphone. I have a megaphone. Great. Okay. It looks like I'm just talking to the air, but I'm actually just grabbing my presentation. Forget that no one can see this. So yes, okay. Love it. My name is Andy Fidel. So social experience strategist. Been dabbling and doing digital experiences since 2010. Discovered VR in about 2014. At the time, I was just a curious tech journalist who just found their way to a abstract museum in Montreal and discovered VR. And from then, have hosted or produced or collaborated on over 1,000 events in virtual reality. And in that, I'm also originally a marketer, a social media community manager. And so I spent a lot of time on social media, not just work-wise or career-wise, but I also host a lot of VR and AR channels since 2014. So including VR Montreal, we have the Get Social channel, we have Spatial Networks, I have one about AR Wonders, another one about health tech. And so all these social media platforms that really have been working together in the past 7 years to find and promote content related to social VR, there's accumulated more over 16 million social impressions. So, that's what I do on a daily basis. And then I'm also a digital literacy educator. So not only do I like to collaborate with creators and developers, but I also love to onboard new creators. So folks that are discovering VR, giving demos, working with teams or on projects that are happening for the first time. And so there's always that literary side. So, because anyways, the teaching side. And then founder of the Get Social channel here, what started as a community channel in AltspaceVR. And over the years, we've grown past Altspace and we've explored the metaverse. We've done world hops, we've done events, virtual tea parties, and then we just explore platforms when they come out for the first time. And so thank you. Thank you for writing this in the bio. I guess now somewhat of a spatial network evangelist. I love them all. I love discovering them. I'm curious, and I think everyone in these platforms, in these spaces, are doing amazing things. Like I love exploring the multiverse, and then I love sharing what I find there. So spatial network, what are spatial networks? That's a word I'm going to use often today. So this is a short definition. So spatial networks is an umbrella term for all social platforms using immersive technology. I believe there's a significant difference between media interaction and real-time communications. So social networking refers to the engagement part of social media, and then spatial computing refers to the technology needed to create these three-dimensional experiences. Um, the term was coined in June 2019 to differentiate the mediums, because while working in both, but also trying to strategize their functionalities or how they interplay, it felt really confusing to just always talk about social platforms. And it felt even more confusing to use words like VR and AR and XR and MR. And then in Latin language, it's like all those letters, but like at reverse. So it just got really complex in terms of like trying to simplify what this is and what essentially is the medium or the tech, these platforms facilitating. And so right now, this is still like a working definition. So happy for feedback on Twitter about this, the Spatial Network channel. But essentially found that social media shares information and spatial networks are shared experiences. Now, that being said, Get Social, it's like this, I don't know, I call it the open beta sandbox. This is where we explore these concepts and apply them and etc. So essentially, it's a digital network for the VR and AR creators and enthusiasts, and we explore the social side of immersive reality. We host weekly meetups, fireside chats, and currently for the past couple of years now, yearly experience hubs in the multiverse. Um, for those who know, for those who don't, I'm just going to briefly go through some of the events that we've done, and also talk about little things about them that kind of led up to Winter Wonderland. So we do social meetups. A lot of times they're just open spaces in worlds, and there's either a topic or just a few questions. It could be, from an interest point, from a topic that's happening in the news, or met someone really great in the metaverse and we're meeting up and having a fireside chat. And then there are themed events. Some of the ones that we've done that we've kept along the years is the multiverse world hop. So definitely a favorite. That's when we like explore all the new spaces here in AltspaceVR, what creators are doing, and I don't know, just talk world building. Then there's Gender Talks. There's the Let's Speak series. That was a series of 9 different spaces, different campfires for different languages. And then we hosted a lot of events. Sorry. Then there's the Women in VR, and that's a weekly meetup that we've also been doing for the past 3 years. And that one revolves around socialization in an open public space. So back to like the main keyword about Get Social is the sandbox, because when and a lot of people here also raise their hand at the event host. So like whenever you want to do something, there's not always like a tutorial or someone telling you how to do that on the internet or like in a tutorial. So like it starts with like an idea, and then you're like, well, how am I going to apply this, right? So that's what Get Social is a space to try things out, connect with community. We have done sponsored content, we've done community content, and we've also haven't necessarily like kept the name Get Social, but we've also worked on projects that are more geared toward enterprise. But back to the fun stuff. So I want to talk about one of the recent experiences we've done, because I feel like this is an extension of where Wonderland is coming. In 2018, if you know me, if you've known me on Twitter, I used to beep all the conferences happening and ask them, when are you doing something digital? When are you doing something remote? Like, when can I buy any ticket? It could be digital, it could be virtual. And like, even back in 2018, like the word VR just made people cringe. So what I convinced the conference to do here is like, can you give me like a day, like a segment, and I'm gonna try and mirror this in VR as best I could. And at this time, I'm here running around with a tripod with like my mobile phone on this tripod, and I'm live streaming the panel and the keynotes, and then I'm turning it off. And so here also you can see there's one room that was created, seeing the content live from YouTube mobile. And it feels kind of like big screen. We're watching something live. We're able to communicate. People weren't muted. And it was fun. It was good. The content was interesting. Um, a lot of people just kind of like set their headsets on the floor or came back on desktop, which made sense, right? We are here to listen to something live. Um, and then after the talk, the panel, people usually stuck around for 30 or 40 minutes, and we talked about the content. And to be honest, I thought like those moments were the most interesting. That's also like the start of the feedback I started to get social was these keynotes, great to have access to them to live, but we all know they're being posted, in the aftermath in a library and an archive. What people wanted me to keep filming was like behind the scenes, because I was a photographer, so I could have gotten things from like different angles and moved around, so I guess like vlog style, um, or to catch like the networking conversations that were happening after the panel and the keynote, where people were asking questions and following up one on one with like with people there. Um, but to be honest, in the physical space, that kind of felt ridiculous. Like I'm gonna be following people with the tripod. So, anyways, it didn't really work, but it was like the first attempt to try and create a present experience at a conference. It's just a picture of the track that we did. It was with WXR. Um, and then, so now going to version 2. So same conference coming back next year, definitely more ambitious, definitely now with like another year of Get Social experience. The key word here was like we have to socialize. Like we have to be able to speak with the keynoters. We have to be able to connect with people on site. We want to assist actual events, people have told me. So like why can't a panel be held in like AltspaceVR, and then like one of the folks over there comes into like VR. So all this feedback came together with the mobile matrix experience. And so this was a conference extension. By the way, Daniel is here, yes, in the middle with me. He actually caught me in real life. And so more info on that. So here, the goal with the space was to make the local conversation, which at the time was in San Francisco, a global discussion. So obviously, most of the events and spaces were open for mingle. Um, there were activities and games. Um, there was the keynote live streams, so keeping the classic model, but also now integrating the live virtual panel. So we, for example, got Sarah Hill, who gave a keynote AWE. She jumped in for a health panel with different speakers from different parts of the world. We had Q&A, so speakers also just coming in and just doing a post follow-up chat just with folks in VR. So additional value for the ones that did come to the virtual space. And then we had individual, like actual content just happening in the space that was unique to this virtual experience. So that included like virtual masterclasses, world hops and exploration. So kind of like a top 5 of, we did top 5 worlds in VR chat. And then we also had a live VR art experience with Sabby Life. So she painted in Google Tilt Brush Live, and then people on their mobile phone or on the television in this space or in Altspace could watch it and engage and ask her to do things live. So that was version 2, included what I thought was as much social as I could, but at the same time, this was all run by the community here. And at what we could, we did 31 events, which seemed like a lot, and 42 speakers. And by the way, after this, like 4 months, educators in VR just like tripled this, and I just looked at them with like, yeah, round of applause for educators in VR, because this was this was insane, and they just tripled that and mastered it. It was beautiful. So this is where like we're all really excited about virtual and digital conferencing, and not just about the content, but the fact that like I'll give you a really good example of educators in VR. What they did is that they made a park. So like in between conferencing and panels, there's like this outdoor space that you can still go to and connect with people. So that's where again, like still thinking about the social space. And here's a larger picture. I love this one with with Daniel. So that summary was event productions, and there was a I mean, I'm still passionate about event productions, and I think it's fantastic. Explored a lot of the components, and I felt like Matrix Core, which was like after like 3 years of experience in VR, like that just kind of felt like that was the masterpiece. So that was like the painting, and I started to think a bit differently now that like the mechanics were done and the content distribution felt like familiar. I got interested in the actual space, in the actual how it made you felt, like the experience, and so in the 2020 just transitioned to pay more attention to world building, to the types of interactables. So not really such relying on like templates and available kits in the features, but thinking about like what could I develop, what could we develop, because VR takes a village, to create something that's truly engaging and present in VR. So pushing it even further, and this was inspired by being a campfire admin. So during the event production time, if you did know me, was part of the communications teams at AltspaceVR, and then came back a year later to be a campfire admin during COVID. And I was hosting events. I was mostly MySpace and world hopping. Like I would go to campfire to like I would drop in to like meet someone, but it wasn't somewhere where like I actually hung out that much, like actually speaking. And as a campfire admin, I'm here for hours at a time, and seeing and feeling the dynamics of this space is what was actually truly inspiring in that year. And I really started to understand like and see like, wow, this space is there's something magic here. Like there's something working in this space. And I started to fiddle around. I started to wonder, how to create better dynamics. Or at the time, I was on the European shift, and so most of us in Europe have VR access yet, or even know about it. And so I was also wondering, like, what could I make just like this time and this moment, like just really fun, but also useful. So this was exploring like different objects, different interactables, different things to engage with a crowd and an audience, and have them feel like campfire like during this time was fun, it was helpful, it was loving, and have them come back to this over and over, and eventually build a collaboration, a relationship, right? Like I'm coming to your event, you're coming to my event, we're building something, we're sharing things, like that's what social VR is about. And so this is where I realized there's a difference between worlds and persistent spaces. Like the events that I was hosting, like the world, sorry, I was hosting all my events, were very static. They were very repetitive. I felt like after the event, people didn't really stay around, or they wouldn't go back to it. And there wasn't really anything to do but like actually like consume, listen to the content, like digest it, and then have a little post mingle, and that was it. Like it was just like a tiny square. Versus like campfire is a persistent space. People come back to this. It makes them feel good. They're making friends. They're making connections, and there's also support. And so that brought Winter Wonderland, which brought much more than that. It was also it's the holiday season. We're in COVID. There is no ice skating. Like who loves ice skating? Like there's no going outside. There's no having fun. There's just all of that is just like it's just non-attainable. It's non-accessible. And so obviously looking at VR, it could be, or at least something, at least some kind of simulation. We can have fun and hang out with friends and do things. So that's just how it stemmed off. Just kind of a thought. What if we created like a winter wonderland persistent, like a winter wonderland world, an experience hub. And there's also the thought that like winter and the holidays, it's also when we're gonna have like so many new folks coming into VR and AR, and they're discovering this for the first time. So how can we make this space like welcoming for folks that know about VR? So it still surprises them, but it's also like comforting for someone who's here and they're brand new. They don't know what they got themselves into. Um, about that, like on the actual PM project management side. I'm really more on the creative and like the thought process. But yes, Laurel and Educators in VR. Thank you so much for your support. They always support me. I thank you. Such just your mentors. So there's Educators in VR, Minsar also was a big help, and then just everyone who participated. And we'll get more into like what happened and who, but like everyone who like onboarded in any which way, which way, and like thank you so much. um, so the goal was to explore. So just a summary: experiential marketing. We did dabble with virtual advertisement, like I said, looking into like sponsorship, so we can compensate for the work being done and the time. Experimenting with this persistent hub thought process feature, and obviously community. Again, I was also very happy to return to Altspace as much as I did during that winter time. It felt good to. It always feels like I'm back home when I come back here. And then obviously, of course, a big shout outs to the folks who built the space. Again, VR takes a village. So we have Alan Chow here, who was the actual like environment designer. He took all my crazy sketches and iPads. So many. If you know me, I send like 40-page mood boards. So he takes all this thought process and everything, and condensed into something that was just like, oh, yes, you read my mind. Nira, Jennifer Brooks, is the one who made all the interactables. So the things you wear, the things you put on, like the antlers, right? The hats. But also we'll get into like some of the really special features that are like called interactables here. So things that do things that like animate, they move, and they actually like react with you and engage with you. And then big shout out to JW. JW has always been such a great so far Get Social. One who welcomes you, who says hi, who hosts a lot of the social events that like require a stage and lighting and music and yeah. Anyways, amazing team. So I want to back up a little bit before I actually show you what Winterland looks like and a little bit of like the thought process behind. I want to give a shout out to Jessica Brillard because like I for sure definitely feel like the inspiration stemmed off from here. I was reading and definitely like reviewed a lot of her blog posts about the thought process of like what makes a 360 video experience, how do we make people feel present. And Jessica Brillard at the time, like way back in 2014-15, like when she was working at Google, um, she had like the most number of like VR hours and like 360 filmmaking and editing and like you know consuming hours. So like the work that she wrote, yeah, it was for someone who was like an enthusiast but not real access to VR, where I was in Montreal. Let me go back on stage. These were works that had me inspired and thinking about like how to craft a VR and 360 story. So the only difference here is that these drawings are meant for like building out a 360 film script. But I felt inspired by this that like this works for creating social spaces. There's there's like what I was inspired is uh she says that people who consume VR, like they're not consumers, they're not viewers, they're not audience. She called them visitors. Because like you couldn't like you can put little sounds for people to look at the like at the back or at the right, But like you can't really like control or like force someone's experience of a VR environment. If they want to look up the entire segment, then there's no way you can like have the control like push their head down. So like, you film something beautiful on the left, and they're like looking at the right, and you're like, no, you missed that like wonderful moment. um, and so she talked about like music, audio cues, light, color, things to like look closer at. So just like really, that's where these dots are, is like trying to film like where we hope, I guess, the visitor looks or engages with. And so I wanted to present this because like when I showed this, there's a bit of resemblance, but we can actually walk into 360 in VR spaces in social VR. So just thinking about like where's the spawn point, like where are the items, in what direction. Someone new, which direction would they take, or someone who comes back. So also like creating threads, like am I someone who's new, or am I someone who's like a regular visitor of this space. There should kind of be like separate experiences there, so they can even just like not bother each other audio wise. So this concept of like a circle, that's like there's a core, there's like a membrane, and there's like layers. So like that's what I'm like thinking about and mostly inspired about when creating a social space. And so this came after a couple weeks, months. This is not even what it looks like now, but that was kind of the concept. It's like, okay, we're spawning, and like I had in concept in mind of the info zone was at the middle of the rink, so like there's like a gazebo or something. We spawned there, and then right away you're at the ice rink. Yeah, and then there's like a cafe on top. Had the containers, like we need something to like project media, and then most importantly in this space is like, so the core would be like the ice rink and the entertainment. But then I really, really wanted a forest in VR. I've seen a few that are like cardboards, so they're like fake or can't go really far, or they're like skyboxes. Like I wanted one where like when you're in it, you're like in it, like you can't even see the rink. You're like, I just wanted have like to create this privacy almost, and like a sense of a distance from what the center would be, like the main entertainment. And so this is where like VR takes a village, because each member of the team is also specialized in what they do and what works best, and they're also UI designers in VR. And so this is what it turned out to look like. Much simpler, but it has a lot of resonance. So instead of spawning in the middle, we did decide that like that's a little intense in VR, especially if people are new. They're gonna ask questions like, "What do I do here? What's happening?" And uh, people are having, they're dancing, and there's music, and there's like noise. So like that doesn't work. Like we want, people responding to be in somewhere that's quiet and, again, like we said, comforting. And so the cafe was added, like taken away from the middle of the ice rink, and put like just kind of the starting point a little bit like in the forest, and you have like the little bit of this huddled feeling. You don't see like the whole space right away, but yet you'd still have a clear horizon of what's ahead. So the core, so that's in yellow. That's where all the entertainment is, the things you can do, where the guests are speaking, where there's music. And then the orange is more of the social membrane, so where people can have that secondary conversation or that hallway moment. So something, main is happening in the center, but maybe you need to like walk away, or you met someone, you want to have a further conversation. Like you can diverge, and that's the beauty of spatial experiences, is it's spatial. There's room, so like we're not on a Zoom call, we're not an interactive you know um group call, or we're not all muted. Like we're in this space where we can navigate and choose our own adventure. Like choose your own experience. Do you want to be here, or do you want to be over there with this person? So a little bit of a more of a closer highlight. So this is the cafe. By the way, kudos, Alan 3D modeled this. I gave you a few pictures of this cafe in Montreal that I really much love. And anyway, so beautiful cafe. So this is where like you land by this. And in here, there's like our community standards. Sometimes there'd be like info buttons on the table there. Sometimes there'd be like a game of like chess. It was just it was quiet, you know. It was just somewhere where people were having I would say just mellow, chill conversations. It was a social hangout, but there was no music. It was mellow. That's a good word. Next to that is the feature board, and we'll get into what this does a little bit later. But we did have fun and develop a few event tools that we didn't fully, I'd say, like explore or really utilize. But this is something that I'm thinking about for like the next experience. But we'll get into this one. This was an interactive map to create larger worlds. One of my favorite things at the cafe was the cup. So this was something that like I've heard so much about. When you're eating or drinking something, sometimes it breaks the immersion because like obviously you're not. So it make you thirsty, might make you like a bit hungry. Like it's just something you don't have access to. Um, there are platforms like Rec Room that like make it really fun and interactive. So like if you eat a piece of cake, it actually like choose bits and pieces, like the marshmallows here, like they roast, like things like that. Like you know, when drink a bottle, like should it like actually like animate in some way, like actually get like a compensation or like something like a surprise out of actually engaging with an object. Uh, and so this cup of coffee, it's full when you grab it, and then it empties. So that's like the little like not joke, but just like intriguing. It's like what? It was full, now it's empty. And then it like slowly fills. And so I love it because when people first experience it, their like face is just like literally in it, and then they think it's over because it's like okay, it filled, and then the marshmallows pop. Oh, that's my favorite part. And so yeah, so that's at the cafe and the engagement item in that area. And then campfire. To be honest, this one like I tried thinking of different things in campfire. Like it could be like a I guess a an alien one or like a sci-fi, like whatever it was. It felt like I was always putting light um in some way how, and I think like this concept we might play with it differently in the next space, but for this one like in the forest during the holidays, you know, marshmallows, uh I just wanted a fire. I just felt like it worked really well. Definitely inspired by the campfire and alt space. But it looked nice. It fit well. So this area here, it's a little bit further off than the cafe and the spawn. But this is where we would have guest speakers that were more in like in a mingle format. So like about like a good 15 folks can like circle around. Even more, but then you start to like kind of look over one another's shoulder or going like a little up in the decor. But yeah, this was a great space. Like I did most of my Get Social chats around here. Or sometimes I would have fun and do some Q&As like behind the cafe counter. But I love the campfire and it has a really like nice sound. Like Alan put a lot of attention and love in like the sound effect and trying to make me really feel warmer. I don't know if you've tried that. I'll definitely love your feedback after we finish the next slide here. But that was something that Alan really wanted people to feel is like when you put your hand near or your body or you roasted something and like to feel cuddled, to feel warm, and to feel like you know surrounded by friends. We were going for that like happy, good feel. Um, and side note, he's also experimented with this also with the hot tub that he's created at the Brooklyn rooftop, but also at the Tiki Lounge. So, anyways, like creating spaces that like again create emotion. So just a shout out for Alan on that. And then here at the campfire, this is where we also had like again, I said the clothing. So we had like the antlers, we had hats, we had like actual ice skates. We gave people not legs because then I felt like we would need so many choices. I felt like I don't know the silliest thing. Like I just give people PJs. So this is the design that Neo developed, and they were fun and embarrassing, and we have really goofy pictures on social now. And then we have the ice rink. So this, I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. This was like the event space. So there's a stage. We could drop in like a DJ booth. There's also like the containers. Again, those were like the thought process. Like we need a space where we can like show media. So whether that's like pictures, used it for like upcoming events. We used it to feature um, the sponsors that were sponsoring the events. And fortunately, we weren't able to like actually script movement this time around, but people swirled around. You know, you take your flight tool, and at one point we even put trampolines so people can like hop around. Yeah, that's the ice rink. How it looks like from afar. So here, like the music is like really loud at the ice rink. So this is where the energy is and the action. And then as you like walk towards the cafe, walk towards the campfire and back to the cafe, then usually the sound by then at the cafe is like low enough for like support, Q&A, and folks are just coming also just to like ease into this, you know, this new space. So just a cool picture. So you know, the rink itself was also designed to be large enough where like there could be like a north, west, south, you know, east, different sections. So like there could be 4 groups of people on that ice rink having like their conversations and laughing and be loud and regroup and take selfies, and it wouldn't like overstep on people having other conversations around the rink. And again, like it's always like playing with that distancing, like not too big because in VR we can feel lost, but not too small. Where unfortunately, like still our spatial audio right now is very delicate, and yeah, you want to make sure that people just have like digital space. And this is a quick snap. Also on the Rink, sometimes we could add a 360 dome. So that was fun. Just a looping animation and visuals to further, I guess, just diversify the space. What we, you know, the only I'm hesitating on this experience because although like visually it's beautiful, this was definitely the event that had some technical hiccups. Like the more media you bring in, like video, streaming, 360, you know, things tend to tangle up. I mean, that's a great thing about VR is that community always steps up, and they were amazing, and they saved the day, and it was a really cool event, and it was fun. Um, so yeah, so that was like about the space. I really want to spend time on that because that's where most of the geekiness goes into, is just like where things are and how and why. But yeah, Winter Wonderland was also, you know, a category of different types of events that we can also do in social VR and wanted to experiment with, and partnered with a few other creators, hosts, even platforms. So obviously the ice skating that was a bit social. We had a special advent calendar, a special event, and Peers in VR. Again, they shared and donated so much time and support, and they did so many amazing social spaces. Shout out to of course. Shout out to the world builder. I'm sorry I forgot their name, but please add in like the captions below. And then just we had music events. You know, we had physical like racing events. We were invited to like Sansar's Lost Horizons concerts. You know, we had our beloved open mic here in AltspaceVR with Reznov. And then we had, you know, the hot cocoa Mongols, or like again, like the ice skating moments. Like these are usually the get social ones. Is just a reason to come together with an activity. Again, the special VR Advent calendar guest that made this happen, and that brought people and opened this and shared this with their communities. Another thing we had in the space that was near the cafe that was mentioned was the giveaway. So like an actual button that people can press. and sign up and subscribe. So another way to build community. As previously mentioned, we did talk about experimental marketing. So could communities, organizations, companies, brands, whatever, find a way to connect with people in VR, but also be able to connect with them outside of VR in our digital spaces. Yeah, and then the stats. So keeping this brief, and I just want to congratulate everyone who took part of this. We had over 170 events. We had 28 advanced calendar guests, and total joins. We were at 15K. So I'm yay. For something that we decided we wanted to do and just did it and went for it and had fun and voila. And so that's all I have. That was probably a lot. I'm sorry. I think that was my longest slide presentation here in Altspace. But
it wasn't. It was awesome. It was awesome. All right, let's turn on for some questions. All right, if you have a question for our amazing Andy, and wasn't that incredible? I mean, what a risk, but how worth it. How worth it. So my first question, we have a bunch of questions already coming up. What was the biggest lesson that you learned, Andy? Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
The biggest lesson? The biggest lesson.
That will stay with you when you are 90 years old and in cups. What are you going to be remembering?
I think the same mistake the first time. Just to keep doing. It takes a team, takes a village, to really just share and open and do things together. This is possible, with a one really strong ambition, and a lot of time and a lot of hours. But this was I want to be really humble with this experience. We did it at the time that people had to donate or that were sponsored for, but it was a respectable small budget. But I love this because doing this, it doesn't matter because honestly it was so big in my heart. This could have been quarter and I would still cry, but it was about doing the process and learning it, and that's the experience I wanted to have, is take something like a festival from A to Z and just experience it all to understand what it really takes, and to be honest, the team, and yeah, VR is team.
Love it. It is, and we feel the same way with Educators of VR. We couldn't do 90% of what we do with 95, 99% without an awesome team. And our team members are here. We love our teams. Yes. And that's also the fun. On Zoom, collaboration means something, but in VR, it means something completely different. And so just love that. All right, VR girl, Jean. Jean, you're up.
Will there be a spring wonderland?
Ooh, the demand is there, Andy. You're muted. There you go.
It's not a wonderland, but there is a good social spring space coming out.
Woohoo! All right, great.
It's something else, something new.
Okay, always pushing the limits. I love it. Beautiful question. All right. Gould Kid, glass blower, I think it is. You're up. Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have hit the button on accident.
Okay, thanks. All right, Leona, you're up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can.
Hi, really excited about being in this event. Awesome presentation. Thank you so much for being here. One of the things that I always look for in VR is some things that you can't do realistically in real life. Of course, right now the focus is the fact that we're in a pandemic and it's hard to do the regular things that we would normally do. So we have to kind of replicate them in VR. But I'm wondering, if we weren't in a pandemic and you still made this, what kind of maybe absurd, maybe not too absurd kind of things would you add to the Winter Wonderland?
All right. Did you catch that? Because her audio started going What would
I
you,
did like the
okay.
first 80%. I just need the last sentence.
Okay,
What,
so
what kind
if
of
you could mute and unmute yourself, I'm not sure if that's going to resolve the issue, but your audio is starting to go glitchy. But it was basically, what do you want to do going forward that makes VR different from online conferencing?
But was it regardless of the pandemic? Was that part of the question?
No, if the pandemic continues forward, then how do we make VR different from what you can do in an online? You know, how do we sell people on this, and how do we make it different from whatever you can do in an online conference?
I think it's really it's pushing it. It's exactly what you just said is not do in VR what you would do in the physical.
It's hard
so
to go
have people
ice
have a-
skating.
yeah and so like and when I say this to your question, I mean like this was, you know, this is still I think playing it like really safe and like still using like norms and you know being recognizable, and that was kind of like the vibe I was going for, is like home, like I was going for a homey feeling. But I feel like the next like experiences or projects, like I just I want to push the limits. I want to be in a situation that's not possible to be in unless it's in VR, or be able to do things that's not. So I think it's about taking our experiences to the next level in terms of like our what we're doing with our hands, eyesight, hearing. We're really big into spatial audio lately, so maybe something, you know, great is going to come about that. But in terms of like if Winter Wonderland was you know, just whatever it could be and nuts and nutso, I really wanted to make this in like a bit of a carnival experience, and just be able to have like more things flying people in the sky, like maybe a hot air balloon from one side to like another, like that's something that I feel like could be further developed in spaces, is like take people up, take people down. Lights always, you know, enchant folks, shows, you know, uh, things like that, like just unexpected, like be able to like we had a teleporter in the tree to get you to Jingleville, which was a collaboration with Juliana Lowe, a wonderful Google Toothbrush world. But it was a portal stuck to a tree. Like, I mean, if we want to go fancy, like have like trees be like wormholes, like just pushing things and making them seem less digital in VR, but like abstract. Like, yeah. That's what I would say.
Excellent answer. And that is, you want to make sure that you have an experience that pushes the limits and does things that you can't do otherwise. And we have an event space that we use every once in a while with educators in VR, where you're underwater. How many times can you have a meeting underwater? You know, with a fish swimming right by your head. So there's the
Exactly.
experience and the interactable. So I love that. I absolutely love that. All right. So while I'm waiting for the next question, if you hit the raise hand button, how did you handle? I know it's technical, but you had a persistent space, and yet then you had events, and in an alt space and many different platforms. Those are two. You treat a world very different than an event. How did you handle the complexity of that? I don't need all the technical, but the complexity of retraining the audience and rethinking about that process.
Well, yeah, it was a bit of a technical hiccup. I'm glad that we did this for like a month and a half, because it didn't feel like so much work was lost, because we had a lot of time. I'm really glad about that. But there is a major shift between events and worlds. A lot of features are lost, a lot of functionality, like even, you know, simple things like the hand raise and on air. But the goal was to create a persistent world, and so it was a challenge, because I was almost arrogant. I was like, I want to keep this the entire time, just the world. And so we even went about creating a lobby. So you would fall in like up in the forest, and you would have to go through a portal to then come into the world. So that took like a whole another challenge, because then I realized that like, okay, my lobby needs to be more than like a random spot in the forest. So that's where I felt like a good idea. It could work, but definitely need more love and more thought. And so the biggest events that we had, just to have more security with the technology and the platform, we did revert to events. So that's why like the stats are accumulation of events and worlds. Yeah.
Yes, so there's still more challenges to be worked out in that. So anyone who's thinking about this, realize that there is some steps in between the thought and the end result to make that come together. But I love it. If we're not pushing this, if we're not pushing what we're doing here further and pushing those boundaries, it doesn't get better, right? I mean, that's it. So thank you for pushing it because you're helping making it better. I just love that. And right now they're all listening. All right, Leona, you're back. You have another question?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll
great.
try not to touch the audio button.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks.
one of the things I always think about in terms of going to real events versus virtual events is the kind of thing that you see in like the Snickers commercials where it's like, oh, you need a break, grab a Snickers. So it's kind of like those things that you have, like drinks, or like snacks that you would be using to kind of like break the ice or get rid of that social anxiety. And I noticed that you have that with the the hot chocolate and the marshmallows. I think that's great. Um, some of the things that I think that would be cool to add is maybe like you can create your own snowflakes, or you can throw popcorn seeds into the campfire and they'll pop into popcorn. Um, but I'm also thinking about what would you suggest? Like what I'm sure there's other things that you have been thinking about that you might not have gotten enough time to do, or that just form a challenge, or that you're thinking about for the future.
Oh, fantastic question.
So
I-
many
and I love-
interactables, so little time.
No, yes, but they're so important. But they're so
They are.
important. They're so key to a space. Like each space has to have something to do with their hands. Like we're always doing things with our hands. We're either eating or moving, and we talk with our hands. So just being able to like move people, I feel is like already an icebreaker. Just getting them to like reach out to something and maybe bump into someone's hand. Like I don't know, just like it is like creating engagement, and I feel like interactables are key. And that was one of the things that Campfire had, were a lot of interactables, and I'm so glad that AltspaceVR like opened them all up, which is quite new. Really to give everything they have, and like their entire master pocket, and so we did use a lot of those new toys. I love the popcorn. The type of objects that I'm most interested now in developing is the ones right now I see are that we do something to an inanimate object and something happens, right? So like I do something to the fire, and then my marshmallow does roast. But what we're doing at Get Social is really trying to facilitate and guide people to connect as naturally as possible. So just break that ice. And so I would love to have objects that we have to engage with another person for it to do something. So not just like, put the marshmallow at the fire, but what if I gave the marshmallow to someone, then something happened to it? So that can, one of the things we tried to develop during the Get Social camp, during the Burning Man multiverse, was like the interactable stars, I think, that you've seen a lot of people had fun with. But even that, like, we didn't succeed technically, really. There's a star that's an inanimate object, and if you take a star and you interact with that star, something happens. But originally, the plan is you have to have a star in your hand. I also have to have a star in my hand, and if we bring those objects together, something happens. So that way, those objects, they need to be triggered by collaboration. That's something I would love to see in VR, and I would love to see like more, more software and applications or processes that like enables those particular types of objects. So, for example, like
See
the
why
coffee,
we love this?
yeah, like the hot chocolate. Like for example, great, I get marshmallows. Like, what if you had like a sprinkler shaker, like at the cafe, and then you sprinkle that over my marshmallow, and then I get a marshmallow with sprinkles. I don't know.
I want
like that.
fireworks. I want little rainbows. That would be wonderful. All right. So while I'm waiting for any other questions, thank you, Leona. That's because I have 1,000 questions. So Andy, I want to talk about Get Social and your vision going forward. What's happening in the future for that? Because you've now have this great body of information about persistent spaces and everything else. But what's going forward? How is that changing how you're going to drive Get Social and all your projects forward?
That's still an ongoing question. I guess the question is, we are definitely moving away from event productions. That's one of the things that is seen on the channel. Like, went down from like 7 events I was hosting at the time to like down to like my 3 favorite. And spending more time in developing these persistent hubs. Right now, I'm thinking like maybe on like a trimestral level, like maybe like 3 a year or maybe like 2. Definitely want to keep them like high quality and have enough time for them, but also to create really great experiences is time. And time is commitment and sustainability. And so one of the things that we are doing at Get Social is just opening up for sponsorship, collaborating with brands that might want to further enhance the space or work with us in some way somehow. So that way, like we get to keep creating experiences. They're fantastic. It's a sandbox. But I also like find it's really important that people are compensated for their time. And they learn something. They're sustained, and we all feel good about it. I've been doing VR and community work and digital work for a decade, and there's always that love for you just want to do something, you just do it. Like there is room for personal projects and tinkers and or even just hosting a community event because you want to talk about that subject. And then there are projects where I feel like they can also be sustainable and be creative. So I feel like Get Social is just going to naturally evolve and just see where the wind blows. Like right now there is no real set plan. It's just we're just open. But we do have the spring experience already in the works. It's more about what are we doing in like the fall and like again the winter. So we have like 8 months to think about it.
Love it. All right, everyone, please, another big round of applause for the amazing Andy Fidel and all of your hard work and dedication to the metaverse community, and especially us here in Altspace. We love you and adore you, and you are changing the world, my friend. You are definitely changing the world. Thank you. I love it. Now, I want to remind you for those that came in later and missed the intro, that Educators in VR has our big conference, is now called Univirtual Experience. It's coming up in May. We'll be getting an announcement coming out. We need volunteers. We have volunteers meetups that are happening tomorrow. For more information, you can join our Discord as well as just go to educatorsinvr.com. You'll find all the links for information. We also set up our membership. So if you'd like to continue to help support us, as Andy just beautifully said, with all of the free events that we offer to the public and trainings, please become a member. We've got some great benefits coming at you with some really fun stuff. All right, I want to thank again Mark floating up overhead there for this beautiful new world, beautiful new event space. Just love it. I'm glad y'all brought your umbrellas so that you can be out underneath this beautiful. No, we don't need umbrellas here. It's VR. We love this. And thank you, Mark, for this beautiful space. I'm gonna unmute everybody. I have dropped all of the stage blockers off so that you can now. Oops! Now we have echoes immediately. So wherever that going, please mute. So you can come down, you can talk to Andy, you can wander around and enjoy this beautiful space. Thank you, everyone. And see you next Tuesday or in the in-between. Thanks.
Thank you, Laurel. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone at Educators.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm sure a lot of people want to talk to you. However, I gotta say, the stars we could make them do that, and we probably shouldn't. But it gave me like another similar idea. I mean, it's basically your idea, but like in a different form. Is we could like that thing totally. You could have one that only is one half of the experience. You hold it and whatever. So we could make like puzzle pieces or lockets, like things where like there's a few different varieties and you have to find someone with the other half of your kind, and then it makes the thing happen. You know what I mean? Like there could be like 4 different things that need to be paired up or whatever,
Thank you.
and they all have a different reaction, and you have to like walk around finding the other person with your kind of thing. I don't know.